What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Charter Podcast. I'm Ruthie Polinsky, back with 𝗏𝗏cie 𝗰𝗶𝗹 𝗟𝗏 guys. Great to see you both. Hope you had a great weekend. Everything good?
I had a great weekend. I celebrated my buddy 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗹. Alex is a big fan.
Yeah.
He's a Bachelor guy. You guys obviously are more football fans, but he was the Bachelor and on the Traitors. And it was his going away party in New York City. So got back today, but we had a great time out there.
Did you tell him that we gave him a shout out on our last episode? This is like the 𝗏𝗏
He
podcast.
was the pilot of the jet that won the mascot battle.
Remember?
Without the pilot, the jet's useless.
And we learned that 𝗏𝗏, big Seahawks fan.
Big Seahawks fan.
Seattle Sam. And
He's
𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, he's biggest Seahawks fan. He goes like 4 games a year.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
All right, you guys how was your weekend? Good?
My weekend was great.
Didn't want to cast you aside there.
No, I love it. I thought I was working Sunday. Turns out I wasn't. So we took an impromptu trip to 𝗏𝗏𝗨, and my son was introduced to butterflies for the first time.
Aww.
Which kind of, he was like, I don't know about these things.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was very great. It was fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely.
Different style weekends.
Very different.
Well, hopefully all the Chicago Bears had a great weekend because guess what, guys? Back to school today. It is off-season program, day 1 at Halas Hall. The Bears have a little bit of an advantage because they have a first-year head coach. They get to start their off-season program 2 weeks before people who don't have a first-year head coach. So Ben Johnson addressed the team for the first time today, got in front of the room and probably had something strong to say to them. And the players we don't know. So that's why we have 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗹 here to explain to us what exactly happens in this phase of the off-season program, 𝗏. Like, what is going on in Halas Hall this week?
So this is a fun week because it's like the first time, especially with a new coach, and I've been there with like a new coach. It's like your first time, obviously, the meeting. Ben probably had his speech, get comfortable being uncomfortable, kind of like laying out what the program is going to be going through all the different phases of the OTAs of the offseason. And phase 1, what they're in now, is literally you just go and you work out with your team. But more importantly, you get the first look at the playbook that the coaches can install, but you don't get to go on field at all. So you're just working out. You go on field, but there can't be a football.
Sure.
So you're going out there, you're running sprints, you're doing your strength and conditioning. This was for a couple of weeks, and you're just getting stronger, making sure you're building that base until you go into phase 2 coming up. I don't know, should I continue with like the different phases here?
Yeah, well, because obviously there's the draft, right? And there's rookie mini camp, and then so explain to us how that all goes.
So interestingly enough, you go from phase 1 to phase 2, and how that works is phase 2 is no helmets, and you just go out on the field. You can run routes now. You can run routes on air, but there's no helmets. And offense can't go against defense. Defense can't go against offense. But offensive players can stand as like scout team members. Okay. So now you're installing the offense on air. You're running through the cadences. You're getting the snap count right. You're timing up the motions. You're making sure everything is crisp on air. You can't wear helmets. There's no contact. But then after the draft, you got the minicamp. In the minicamp, you skip right ahead, and you got phase 3 stuff.
So are you talking a voluntary minicamp or a mandatory minicamp?
Voluntary or mandatory. Okay. Either minicamp, you get your helmets on, you're playing against the defense, so that you can't be full speed, like hitting, because you only have helmets on. But you do have this minicamp where you jump to phase 3, but then after the minicamp, you go back to phase 2 for another like week or so. And then you get into phase 3, which is the OTAs that we know. There's 10 now, and you have 10. They're like full practices. I know they've changed the rules a little bit since I've been there. Back when I was playing, it was full football without pads on. Like, I had no idea when I got drafted that we were playing like fully blocking guys, but with just helmets. And it was insane how that worked. But for the phase 3, you get 10 practices now, and you'll have 10 practices to install with the defense, with the offense. You'll see blitzes. You'll see everything you're going to see in a real game, but you only have helmet on. There's no tackling. The offensive line, offense and defensive line are more tag off. You're not doing much, but you really get to see is positionally. You get to see which receivers can get open, which cornerbacks can block, who can pick up the offense? Like, who can Ben Johnson say, okay, this guy can play here, this guy can play here, this guy can play here. Okay, I can move these guys around. So Rome, DJ, and 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗹 are guys that you can put on every different part of the offense because they're smart enough to pick it up. So you get to really get in the minds of the guys, and in the line play, not going to see a lot because it's not physical, but it's more of a mental thing. So there's a lot to do, and it's very important time for me. Like, season starts with OTAs. Like, it's not like this fun, like, summer camp. Like, season starts with OTAs.
Yeah.
Because you got, especially when you got a new coach, a new offensive coordinator, you're learning a new system. Yeah. You got to show them that you can learn the system. That's the most important thing. Obviously, your conditioning, your strength, your everything else you're doing in the weight room, staying healthy. And then, obviously, your performance, different positions, like I said, will have bigger opportunities to make more plays, like receivers, tight ends. Running backs can't break tackles because there's no tackling. Quarterbacks can get through his reads, but you're not picking up the same type of blitzes, but you want to see a crisp motion, a crisp pre-snap, everything you want that to see, and that's important for the Bears because I think that's something that they struggled with last year. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of things you can take from it, but just not the physical line, linebacker, running back stuff.
Yeah, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, obviously no pads on.
Yeah.
It's like you can't really tell, oh, this guy got great penetration here, or this guy really blocked this run game up, because obviously the offensive line play, you can't evaluate that until the pads come on, right?
But the pads come on, that's when you see how physical your football team can be. And that's in training camp. The other thing you can do right now is, like, the coaches can only be on the field with you so often. Mm-hmm. But, like, Caleb can show his leadership ability. And I'm sure guys like Joe Toney, Dahlman, Grady Jarrett will do some of this. But you can say after your workouts, you can go back on the field and, like, put that extra time in. So that's something that I'd be curious to see if there's some veterans that are taking advantage of that, because that's really how you get better. When you start taking it upon yourself to go out there, okay, we know we got so many rules with practices, they can only be this long, there's not physicality, but go after practice, work on moves, work on routes in air, work on everything you need to work on, and that's how you're going to get better, and, steal a day or two from some of these other teams that are doing the same stuff you're doing right now.
So, obviously with phase one and what's happening today, right? The players went in their team meeting, and then they just go to the gym and lift and do stuff on their own. They can't really work with any of the assistants physically. Just to clarify, so we're locked in on what's happening this week.
You're strictly with the strength and conditioning coach. You can get the stuff, like, you're in the classroom, so you're back to school and you're learning the playbook, but you can't take it out to the field with the coaches. They cannot be on the field with you, but you're in the classroom. Ben Johnson, he's probably installing this offense. Obviously, he's getting help from his guys, his position coaches, OC, the offensive line coach. So you're going to start with a team meeting. He's going to talk to the full team. Then you're going to break up offense, defense. Obviously, Dennis Allen's going to talk to the defense as a whole. Ben Johnson talk to the offense as a whole. And then Declan and Ben will I'll see them working together to install the offense. And they got to get used to the verbiage, because a lot of things in the NFL are the same. But the terminology changes. You can go, and for the young guys, this is more difficult. But say like me, like, I got cut in the middle of the season with the Patriots. This is on a Monday. On a Tuesday, I signed with the Lions.
Right.
On Wednesday, I'm in Detroit. And it's similar schemes. There's only so many different things you can do, but the names are completely different. So you hear this, and you got to erase it from your mind, and now it means this. And then you're on the field on a Sunday, and you're playing an NFL game, and you're trying to remember these plays and these motions and all this stuff. But the part that they're going to have to learn a whole new offense, they're going to start by going through the cadence. I mean, they're breaking.
They're going to have to learn offense, period.
They got to learn how to huddle up.
They got to learn how to snap the football. I mean,
this is what people don't realize.
Yeah.
They're going to go through where to stand in the huddle, what Ben likes. They're going to go through the cadence. Some cadences are different. Some guy likes color number, like green 8, and your audibles. Now your audibles are going to be different. Ben likes to audible like this. He likes double counts. So your cadence, your huddle, your motions are different. Your shifts, how many shifts does Ben like? Ben likes shifts, because shifts is something that gives you a tell. When you shift your strength, so you have two tight ends on the left, and you shift pre-snap, they have to get set, and then you just completely revamp what the defense had.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that uses more motions and shifts than I think they're used to. So it's something that's different, and something that's going to take a while, but it all starts today when you're learning it in the room, in the film room. You don't get to take it on the field right away. But along with building your body, the most important thing right now, today, would be both picking up the Dennis Allen defensive scheme and then picking up the Ben Johnson offensive scheme.
Now this verbiage, for the Bears, they're all starting from square one together, right? New DC, new OC, so they're all pretty much on level playing field. How long do you think it takes for that verbiage to set in, for them to forget the 𝗮liche words, for them to forget the Shane Waldron words, and have these words become second nature.
The Thomas Brown words, the �criss Beatty words. Again, just making sure we remember what happened last year.
Honestly, each guy's different, and I think guys will separate themselves with how quickly they can pick it up. And this is something that you got to take home. This isn't like you're working 9 to 5, you go home and you're flipping on the Netflix and just watching White Lotus or whatever you're watching out there. The Severance, we're all on Severance. We're a big Severance crew here.
Big Severance.
And you got to take it home. You come back. And you got to relearn the stuff. But I'd say if there's a time frame, I would like to say like you got to be able to run smoothly enough. Like when OTAs actually start, you get into that phase 3, and then when you come into training camp, they're going to install the whole offense. And then guess what? Training camp, they're going to reinstall it all again. So now you're seeing it not once, you're seeing it installed twice. And then come game day, you're probably, most guys have a specific game plan where it's a much more condensed version. You don't have the big book that you're getting today when you're installing all these plays. You'll have a specific game plan, and you're like learning it again. So it's almost like you learn it 3 times, and this is like the first taste. And the first taste is always the hardest. But by the time you get to OTAs, you want to be able to run smoothly. Like if I'm out there at tight end and they're doing the shifts, the motions, and it's a lot. When you're a young guy, it takes a lot longer. When you're a veteran, you've got your system down, you know how you learn, and it gets better. And I think the Bears have a mix of veterans and young guys, but I think Ben Johnson is a good teacher, and that's something that everybody says about him. Like, this guy can teach.
Clay, you talked about that your season started when the off-season program started. That's how this was. Not everyone feels that way, right? And I think that's important to say. I think that's why you had a very successful 9-year career, 9 years? 9-year career in the NFL.
Yeah.
9-year career in the NFL, and that's why you were able to, have a long career, even though you maybe didn't start your whole career. I think there's a facet of players who potentially have contract disputes or other reasons why they can't be there on this day. Is there anyone that you guys anticipate? We saw some photos of guys coming into the facility. We saw Jalen Johnson's there, TJ Edwards, those guys who maybe you thought, those are veterans. Maybe they don't feel like they need to be there. They're there. It's a new head coach, right? Like, you think everyone should be there. Was there anyone that you thought maybe wouldn't show up today? We don't have any reports or anything, but it'll be interesting to hear if something comes out.
It's not voluntary, but it's voluntary. Unless you're like Keenan Allen last year, missed a couple days. Mercedes Lewis missed a couple days. Like, guys like that, I want everybody there, and I know the coaches want everybody there. And the good teams, Patrick Mahomes isn't missing OTAs. Obviously, a big thing was like Aaron Rodgers, your quarterback, he's missing OTAs. Like, your quarterbacks, your core group of guys need to be there. I guarantee you Joe Thuney's at every practice. I guarantee you Grady Jarrett's at every practice. These guys are pros. They want to show up. They're going to show face. They're going to be in the front row learning. I go back to Tom Brady, and I signed in New England. Okay, I don't know what to expect. I'm coming from Jacksonville, much more lax environment. And first off, the first person I see when I sign in New England, I was like, it has to be Tom. It was like I was walking in the day before, and he's walking out. I'm like, great. I'm like, what do I say to Tom Brady? And he stopped.
He shook his hand. I said, hi, I'm Tom.
He says,
I know who you are.
He says, hi, Tom. He goes, hi, I'm Tom Clay. It's great to meet you. Looking forward to working with you. I'm like, wow. He knew his backup tight end that I had been signed. He knew everybody on the team. You've met Tom. Just this very good presence. He's going to look you dead in your eye. He's going to smile, this professionalism about him. You're like, man, I'm already ready to play for this guy.
But it was a really big deal towards sort of the end of Tom's career when he wasn't at the voluntary part, or there were disputes of whether or not he was going to show up. That was very non-Tom like.
That's interesting.
So that's interesting. I think, but the reason that was such a big deal is because his whole career, he was always there day one.
When I played with the Patriots, I had the cup of coffee, but I was there the whole offseason, right? I got to see the whole offseason program, got to play 6 games, got released. But I remember going in that first meeting. Tom's in the front row. He's taking notes, very attentive, like he's never seen this stuff before.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy was in 17 years of the same offense, same system. He's in the front row taking notes. Those are the type of guys that are going to be successful when he's doing stuff like that. He's asking questions. When we finally get in phase 1, he was still competing in the weight room. We're timing stuff. He would go extra time to try to get his time down. It's like, bro, you're Tom Brady, you're running, you're slow.
Competitor.
And then once we got into phase 3, he would incomplete a pass. He's going to have choice words for everyone. That stuff was serious. He was treating every snap like it like it was a game.
Yeah.
Didn't care it was OTAs. We have these guys that would hold up like glorified tennis rackets, these kids, like our ball boys. And if you ever got a ball batted, to like give him a tunnel to throw through, like he's trying to find a spot to get the ball out in a real game. He is so mad, and he's kicking himself and stuff. But just a guy, you get to see who's really competitive in these situations.
Sure.
Is it even food? If it isn't fried, Lawrence's, open 24 hours, east of Pilsen. Good fried fish isn't just for Good Friday. Lawrence's, the food you crave.
Now, there's the strength and conditioning aspect. There's the rehab aspect if you're coming back from an injury, which you also, unfortunately know something about.
You can stay here the whole time if you're hurt.
Sure.
Like Braxton Jones probably hasn't left.
Sure. And then there's the classroom aspect. Those seem to be the three big things at this point, phase one.
Yeah.
For you, what was most important, like at the outset, at the start of this offseason, to set yourself up for success throughout the summer leading up to week one?
Well, you're obviously getting ready for OTAs. And at the beginning of my career, there wasn't OTA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There was just OTAs.
Yeah.
Every week you were just coming and you were just playing OTAs.
Right.
You didn't know when they started, when they began. It was like training camp. We probably had 20 OTAs, just OTAs every day. OTAs every day. And these are the phase 3 OTAs. You did have a phase that you would gradually, the acclimation period, but obviously with the new rules, with the system that they've implemented, I think it's good. But you have to take each practice as being more important. For me, obviously the most important part is when you get on the field and you start seeing the defense across from you. A lot of guys look good on routes on air. You can see these guys like, wow, this guy can run. When you get a defense in front of them or wide receiver, you get somebody jamming them. Okay, how's he doing there? When the windows are smaller, when you turn around and the ball's on your face, is he going to be able to make that catch? Routes on air, you're not going to have that. Everything's okay. So the most important part is obviously when you get on the field and you're competing against somebody else. But when you have a new coach coming in too, you got to learn the system. You got to become an expert in a short amount of time. And when you're in that huddle and you don't know if you're not 100% sure on the cadence, if you're not 100% on where you are in the huddle, if you're not 100% on the shifts, the motions, those are the things that can kind of get you off kilter and just get you starting from a little bit behind where you want to be.
Now, I know you're a big flashcards guy, right?
Yeah.
You love the flashcards. What other methods did you see across the league? Because obviously flashcards aren't for everybody. So, like, what are the different ways that players are learning this because all the Bears are going to be crunching this system?
It's like college. It's like you get in big study groups and you'd have guys quiz each other, but like, say you got a new system. I imagine the Bears are doing this. Caleb will go out on the field on his own and he'll bring Rome, he'll bring DJ once he gets the offense, and he'll start calling out like some of the new stuff and just make sure guys can get lined up. He'll call it a motion, a shift. He'll call out certain formations. He'll call it a play, and just kind of jog through it and like, okay, like you're getting used to this, and just make sure everybody's on the same page. But yeah, for me, note cards. For me, I'd do voice memos. So I'd talk to myself in the play. I'd like green right 373 Y stick X go on 1, and I would listen to it. And I'd be like, okay, what do you got? And I would just voice memo on my way to work. If it was 20 minutes, if it was 30 minutes, I was learning all the audibles, and it was just like using all of that. But for me, it was correlation, because after you've been to a bunch of different teams, one play means something to you. Like you say, computer, like New England had a bunch of one-word plays, so they could go fast. Like computer for me was back in Philadelphia was 373 Y stick slot. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hit a computer with a stick. And when I hear computer, I go stick. And like that, I would just correlate like that, and that's how I got really good. It's just weird how guys' minds work. And for me, I wasn't a big classroom guy. I needed to have that time on my own to go through it on my own and my own pace and like learn. So there's a lot of different learning strategies. There's gonna be a ton of walkthroughs. You walk through the stuff. You're gonna have your coaches are coaching you. They're teaching you the walkthroughs. Just honestly, it's like you're back in college, and you're like learning because there's so many different learning strategies. But it's a fun time, a little bit stressful because you're trying to learn this new offense, and you go fast. And nowadays, there ain't much time to waste.
Yeah.
There ain't much time to waste.
Yeah. Let's look back at the Bears roster right now. If there is one player not named Caleb Williams on this roster that you think really is going to benefit the most from this phase or really needs to be there day one, who would you say that may be? Whether it's to make a first impression with Ben Johnson, whether it's to, just be there and learn and make sure that you have a spot on the roster. Is there someone that stands out to you as a player that really needs to be there today?
I'll pick one guy from offense and one guy from defense, and for different reasons. My first guy is on offense is Rome, because Rome, he had an okay rookie year, but this was we forget because Caleb Williams. He was the 9th overall pick. You know how much we're talking about the 10th overall pick?
Yeah.
Rome was a pick before that last year, but he got overshadowed because of Caleb. He's got to show that he can be a primetime receiver going in from year 1 to year 2. That's when you make your biggest growth. So Rome's got to go there. He's got to show he can play inside, he can play outside, how multiple Ben Johnson's system is. He's got to build that confidence in the coaching staff that we can line you up like we did on 𝗵𝗏 𝗟𝗶. We can line you up like we did Jameson Williams. We can put you in these different situations and you're going to make plays. Obviously, DJ has done a lot of different things in his career, and I think they're probably more confident that they know what DJ is going to bring.
Yeah.
But for Rome, he's got to go out there and he's got to show that.
Yeah.
And show them that he's a playmaker, show them that he can run from inside out because it's such a big slot thing. You're going to get a ton of balls from the slot. Show me you can play in the slot. Ben Johnson's going to want to see that from day one. Can Rome play in the slot? We want to get this guy the ball, his big body. And number 2 is 𝗨 Stevenson. I know we've alluded to this. Like, can you play in this new system? Alex had some great stats. I think the Bears ran 20% man-to-man last year, and this year, or Dennis Allen last year ran 33.
Like 30, yeah.
34. So
Like that.
it's like 15% increase. That doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a lot. You're going to have to run man-to-man coverage. Can 𝗨 Stevenson do that? Can he show he's a guy that can be relied on? Because obviously last year, coming off of everything that happened, he's kind of got a target on him. So can he come back? Can you put everything behind you? Can you make plays? Can you show why you were this high second-round draft pick? Can you get Dennis Allen to buy into your skill set, to your attitude, and really make an impression that, okay, this guy is the cornerback that we thought he was when we drafted him. He's going to excel in this new system.
And by the way, there's a lot of competition. Terrell Smith,
Really
solid player,
underrated name.
who played well when he was healthy. I mean, by the end of the year, that was a
Like mixed,
that was a rotation
Yeah.
at CB2 between
Yeah.
Terrell Smith and 𝗨 Stevenson. So I love both of your picks. And when Ruthie asked that question, those were the 2 names that came to
Really?
mind.
Rome Odunze too?
1,000%.
Rome was a surprising one for me.
1,000%. So
That was a good one.
I'll zig a little bit just to, move, talk about other guys. I'll say Cole Kmet. Because
Yes.
Cole Kmet,
That is a great choice.
high upside guy. He's had really good productive seasons in the past. 2023 he had a really solid year. Last year was a bit of a down year, but it was kind of a down year for everybody.
Not really his fault.
Not really his fault. I'm not putting that on Cole Kmet. And we know that Cole Kmet is a solid inline blocker. We know he's a solid route runner and could be a pass catching option, and that Ben Johnson, utilizes his tight ends a lot. So I think this is going to be a big opportunity for him to, if he has a great summer program and he's learning a lot and he's proving himself, he could really carve out a very serious role for himself in this offense, both as a pass catcher and a run blocker. So Cole Kmet, important summer. And then the other guy on defense, I'll say 𝗃𝗏 𝗏𝗀.
Oh, that was going to be mine.
Who is cleared from the concussion protocol, we learned, who, hasn't been on the field a ton because of the concussions.
Yeah.
They've piled up. But if he can show, okay, I'm healthy, okay, I'm picking up this defense, okay, I'm still the playmaker that I was when the Bears drafted me.
But with
and then
him,
I've shown
it's like
in
the
time.
real test might come to when he makes that first tackle.
Sure. Yes. No, you're absolutely right.
But he still needs to show that he's, he hasn't played since week 5.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but good friend of mine, also rock star, Caitlin Sharkey, WGN, got 𝗃𝗏 𝗏𝗀 one-on-one on her show on WGN. And I mean, it was an awesome interview. It was long. I watched the whole thing. And 𝗃𝗏 was so open with her and so, energetic and just sort of the 𝗃𝗏 that we know and love and have gotten to know. So I think it's going to be really important for him to sort of show the coaching staff what I took away from that interview is that he's energized, he's healthy. He said he feels better than he's ever felt in his career and his life in terms of his mental state, in terms of his physically. He just really, I think not playing last year helped him get healthier rather than forcing himself back into a situation where maybe he wasn't totally conditioned all the way. Or those are sort of the assumptions that I took away from what he was alluding to. So I think if Dennis Allen can get on board with 𝗃𝗏 𝗏𝗀𝗀, and obviously there is a health risk of 𝗃𝗏 𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀 getting back on the field with the concussions he's dealt, not only in the NFL but also at Penn State in college. I think that's someone that's really going to potentially be a tone setter, as he always has been, and just sort of a game breaker for the Bears. And if you can have a dependable Jaquan Brisker at that position, that's really going to solidify your defense.
Game changer for that defense.
Yeah,
Vocal leader
absolutely.
and a game changer.
And I'd love to talk about both your choices because I think those are both really good choices. For Jaquan Brisker, I don't think, like, looking back at his career, like, he's probably never had, like, this much time to, like, let his body heal. So coming into this year, like, I could imagine that he's probably just working out, you know, when the team was playing, wanted to play, obviously he's chomping at the bit. We see how passionate he is and how much he wants to be out there. So he's probably going to come back big, fast, strong, ready to go, like ready to play football. Because when you get it taken away from you, you realize what it means to you. I've been injured before, and you come back and you're just so excited to be out there. I think 𝗂𝗏𝗏, that's an excellent choice by Alex because Ben Johnson lines up his tight ends in a lot of different places. Cole hasn't had the opportunity to do the amount of things that Ben Johnson is going to give him the opportunity to do. So this is all, it's like a new tryout for all these guys. They're looking, it's a completely new coaching staff. They've seen the film, but everybody gets this fresh start. The one thing about going to a new team, you get a new set of eyes on you. They might have some preconceived notions, but you get to start over, basically, and to really build who you are again in the eyes of these coaches. If Cole can go out there and show that he can be a guy that can split out wide, we've seen it seldomly, but I think he could be really good at that. I know he's bigger, and I know he's like 6'5", 6'6", 260 pounds. Like, this guy's, people don't realize how big ̄Cole𝗏𝗏 is.
He's huge.
Have you stood next to ̄Cole𝗏𝗏𝗏?
Oh yeah, love Cole.
I'm like, he's the guy from like the Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, no, he's huge, and I think also like for 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏 to be like, hey guys, I want to be your tight end of the future.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm here, I want to be here to stay. Like I'm a Chicago Bear for life. Don't go looking.
Don't look
at
for
these
Tyler
sexy new
Warren.
toys.
Don't go looking at Colson Loveland.
Which
You got
I know,
me right here.
I know even if they draft a tight end, it doesn't necessarily mean that 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏 isn't the tight end of the future, but it certainly makes his chances a little bit slimmer.
Depends where they draft that tight end too, though, Ruthie, because Cole, if they draft a tight end in the first round, which is, you know, a small possibility, but
He's
we
gotta be
also
on the
think it's a
field.
possibility, or if it's even, if you go second round, 39 or 41, like those guys are going to get a lot of targets. Cole wants to show that he's a guy that can get a lot of targets because we know.
Cole wants to be tight end one.
Yeah,
he wants to be
tight end
TE1.
Of course. Everybody should want to be
Yeah.
the starter at their position. And here's the other thing. This kind of blank slate, as you were alluding to, is really important. We've seen Bears take advantage of it in the past. I mean, when Matt Eberflus took over, there was all this talk about the Bears cutting Eddie Jackson, and they need a new safety. It's funny that we were just talking about Jaquan Brisker, the safety, and there's been chatter about Bears need to draft a safety. But what they do, they gave Eddie Jackson a shot. They gave him that blank slate. We heard a lot of the similar things out of him that you were talking about in that interview with 𝗭𝗏𝗏𝗀. And he made the most of it. You know, he really dedicated himself to, okay, I'm going to learn how to tackle the way Flus wants me to tackle. I'm going to do things the way Andre Curtis wants me to do things. And he bought in, and he really thrived. And unfortunately, he had the Liz Frank injury, which took him a step back. But he was playing great football, in part, I think, because of this blank slate that he got from the previous Bears regime.
And some guys, they're just better in different systems.
Yeah.
You could be the same player in Shane Waldron's system, same guy. You get a different system that accentuates the things that you do well. All of a sudden, people think you got so much better. It's like, no, they put me in better situations to show what I can do. And I go back to when Julius Thomas came to Jacksonville as a tight end, and I love Julius. He's one of my best friends. Mercedes and Julius were like, we were three amigos. We'd always hang out, whatever. And Julius comes. He's coming from the Denver Broncos, the number one team. He's got Peyton Manning throwing the football. This guy had 1,000 yards. He had 15 touchdowns. We got a tight end that's going to have all these numbers. I go, Julius ain't going to have all these numbers. I'm sorry, in this system, that's literally impossible. And what does Julius have? He has 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and everybody calls him this big bust. You paid him $50 million. It's the system. Julius didn't all of a sudden become completely a 3 times worse tight end. No, he wasn't given the opportunities, and the system was different. So system matters, and I think we're all comfortable in saying that Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen are 2 guys that are going to have systems that are going to be able to make their players better. They're going to make them live up to all the talent that they have and put them in the right positions to be successful, and that's obviously what everybody wants.
Right on cue for Alex's computer to rudely interrupt us, but we do have to wrap this thing up. Guys, great stuff. We're going to continue this conversation. We are getting closer and closer to the draft, so we'll keep having those conversations as well.
How many days?
Today is the 7th.
3 weeks-ish? 2.5 weeks?
Yeah. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to the Charter Podcast brought to you by St. Xavier University. For Clay Harbor, 𝗦𝗦liche𝗰𝗶𝗹, I'm Ruthie Polinsky. We'll see you back here next time.